Greetings, Night Nation. Thank you for clicking on this video here with the Suns UCF. What you're about to watch is something really interesting and really unique. And the premise was simple. Clay Pasco, a longtime contributor to the Suns UCF, a current student at UCF, wanted to educate himself more on the history of UCF football. He's heard a lot about games back in the day, close calls and games UCF's lost, and kind of that era where UCF was really trying to make a name for himself, but never found a way to break through. And really what he wanted to understand was what happened? How did the Knights get so close, and how did they lose so many close games? Whose fault was it? And really just understand the entire situation. To do that, though, Clay sought out to research those years, 1996 through 1999. And what he found pretty quickly was there's a lot of game footage that's no longer available. It's just been scrubbed from the internet, and you can't find it anywhere. Clay, however, was undaunted as he continued his research and actually went and found archival footage from rival schools that we played that he was able to put together as part of this video. So in this video, you're going to see some game footage you may have never seen before. UCF at Ole Miss, UCF at Georgia, games that have long been erased somehow from the internet. Clay has unearthed, found, and you will find them included in this video. It's a fantastic walk down memory lane from the lens of somebody now living in 2025 as to what happened to the then Golden Knights. We appreciate Clay for putting this together. We hope you enjoy it. And without further ado.
Hey, I know it's been a while. My name is Clay Pasco. I'm a student at UCF. I'm going to go ahead and give a huge special thank you to first Adam Eaton for, believing in this project and helping me out as much as he could. To Marc Daniels, giving me the time that he could and sitting down with me to interview about these events that took place in the 90s. This video took a lot of hours, so I'd appreciate it if you liked, comment, share. Tell me in the comments, did I miss anything? Is there something that I should have mentioned in this video? Is there maybe another nuance or detail that I didn't get right? Let me know. But anyway, here goes nothing.
What do you got? Harvey, still on his feet.
A flag is down.
It's a race now. Do you believe it? Knights take the lead. And he caught it for the touchdown. He's picked again. Perfection. Over the top. Wow. Burrow going right to him. It's intercepted. That's your ball game.
Universities have always been about expanding horizons, enriching the student's experience. At UCF, a now university, we've raised the stakes. In one of the most dynamic areas of the world, UCF taps the region's unrivaled resources through partnerships with industry and government. From tourism to lasers and optics, from aerospace to the performing arts, from health to computer simulation, to precision engineering, to business administration. UCF students at undergraduate and graduate levels can expect the quality experience only a combination of teachers who do world-class research and industry professionals can offer. The University of Central Florida. A now university. Florida's educational attraction.
And they have yet to know that their most important attraction was
football.
Let me propose something to you. Imagine this. It's 1996. The Central Florida Golden Knights have officially moved to the Division 1A. You paid your best friend. You hop in your Ford Taurus. You put your cassette in, pet your dinosaur, the usual, and head to the Citrus Bowl to watch Daunte Culpepper play against the big boys. An era of UCF is about to begin that will change everything forever, including, but not limited to, choking games. I mean, you can't win them all. Not every close game is going to be a win.
A backwards pass, looking for the double pass as Townsend instead he's tackled.
Of course, we're all aware of seasons like the 2017 Peach Bowl season or the 2013 Fiesta Bowl season, but this is kind of an era of UCF that's not really talked about, I don't feel like. Of course, the old heads that were here back in the day will talk about these games, but this is something I really wanted to highlight in this era of UCF history. In fact, I got this idea because UCF Mike texted me this little take he had for an episode of Up All Night back in December. He said, and I quote, "Daunte Culpepper is overrated and a choker in the biggest games. Also, you're a lot funnier than I am, and it's time everyone finally knows." Wow. Thanks, Mike. Now, is there merit to this take? Was Daunte Culpepper a player that all UCF fans hold in high regard, really not as good as we remember? Or was it a team issue, perhaps even a coaching issue? I mean, you can't place all the blame on one sole player. After doing my own research on the matter, all those points are kind of right. Coaching wasn't especially great at times, Daunte at points didn't help, and even the refs screwed us on one occasion. How exactly? Well, let's get into it. So without further ado, let's start in 1996. After coming off a shoulder injury the previous season, known Dolphins legend Daunte Culpepper was poised for a great season, leading the Knights to a top 20 offense. However, that wasn't enough to save UCF's inaugural season in the big leagues, because they ended up going 5-6. I do want to point out, though, that UCF did beat football powerhouse William & Mary 39-33 in their very first game of the season and in the FBS. Totally ignoring the 33-14 loss at South Carolina in Week 2, we look at Game 8 of the 1996 season, where UCF would go on the road to Bobby Dodd Stadium in Atlanta to take on Georgia Tech, where known Notre Dame coaching legend George O'Leary was the head coach. I want to go ahead and point out that there's no sort of footage of this game, not even photos, but I can give a description through the super credible source known as Wikipedia. Trailing 20-6 early in the fourth quarter, quarterback Daunte Culpepper was on the sidelines with an injured shoulder. Strong safety Donnell Washington grabbed the mid-air fumble and returned it 46 yards for a touchdown to trim the deficit 20-13. The Knights were able to pin Georgia Tech back at their own 4-yard line with 8 minutes and 2 seconds to go. But Georgia Tech responded with a 96-yard touchdown pass from Shaw to Charlie Roberts and a 27-13 lead. UCF scored a touchdown with 40 seconds left in regulation to make the score 27-20. An onside kick attempt in the final minute failed, and the Golden Knights lost 27-20.
It's one of those like, okay, wait a minute, we got a chance to kind of compete, and Daunte was a big factor. I mean, you just saw that he was an elite player that gave you a chance to contend, because usually he was the best player on the field regardless of who you were playing. So that was kind of a sign that stood out, but it also showed you guys, we're going to have to play this schedule for several more years to make money. So that's what I remember about 96.
By no means was this Georgia Tech team anything amazing. I mean, they finished 5-6 as well, and they also missed a mole game. But funny enough, UCF would actually go on to win their final 3 games of the season, crushing Illinois State 42-15, beating UAB 35-13, and defeating the Bowling Green Falcons 27-19. With that in, thanks for looking up. The Golden Knights had a lot to look forward to for the next year, since Daunte was returning for his 3rd year. Or did they?
The excitement of college football as the UCF Knights swing back into action. Get your season tickets and cheer on the Golden Knights as they charge into their 2nd year of Division 1A college football. Call 407-823-1000 for ticket information. Corporate packages and family discounts are available. Don't miss the excitement of college football with the Golden Knights of UCF. Call 407-823-1000 for your tickets today.
For whatever reason, for their 2nd season in the Division 1A, UCF decided to schedule 4 SEC teams in prime Nebraska on their 1997 schedule.
I think today people look at UCF, and as they try to grow their program and athletic budget to compete in the Big 12, they may not realize just how challenging it was. I mean, UCF had no money back then. When we were in a 1AA to Division 1, it was a struggle, and it's why UCF and then athletic director Steve Sloan said, we've got to play money games. We have to be willing to go anywhere to play anybody and take the check. And if, by the way, we can win one of those games, wouldn't that be great? But the move to schedule like UCF did was just to make money.
This was back when we actually wanted to play real competition and not New Hampshire. On August 30th, 1997, the Knights kicked off their season playing the Ole Miss Rebels in Oxford, Mississippi. Daunte Culpepper threw 2 touchdown passes in regulation, and the game went into overtime tied 17-17. Ole Miss got the ball first in the overtime period. Stuart Patridge threw a 19-yard touchdown pass to Rufus French to take a 24-17 lead. UCF took over, and Culpepper completed a 21-yard touchdown pass to Charles Lee. The Golden Knights took a timeout and contemplated whether to kick the extra point or go for the win.
And the decision is, are you going to kick the extra point or are you going to go for 2? And in talking to Coach McDowell afterwards, I think his feeling was our guys had played so hard. I don't know if we've got anything left to go to overtime. Let's go for 2. And for those that remember or have seen the highlight, it's a quarterback draw, and it's open. All Daunte has to do is count 1,001, 1,002, and he walks in for the 2-point conversion. But the hole opens up so fast, he hesitates, he goes forward, he trips over the center's ankle, he falls down, the ball pops out, and they recover, and it's the heartbreak of a game that UCF knows they should have won because a 2-point conversion.
My foot, I even tripping over one of my linemen right when I was about to stick the ball out and lost the ball right at the 1-yard line. Man, that right there, that would hurt.
Well, next week wasn't going to be any easier, as the Knights were going on the road to take on the South Carolina Gamecocks. With South Carolina getting the ball first, UCF was able to force a stop in their own end zone. Then, luckily enough, UCF would block South Carolina's punt in their own end zone. Capitalizing off of this, Daunte would connect with the receiver and go on the board first. South Carolina would then respond with a 6-minute drive down the field, and quarterback Anthony Wright would find his receiver open for a touchdown. A couple 3-and-outs later, South Carolina quarterback Anthony Wright would find Kerry Hall wide open down the sideline for another touchdown. USC now leads 14-7. Just before half, UCF would kick a field goal to cut the lead down to 4, putting the score 14-10 at halftime. I mean, not bad, right? You're down 14-10 at halftime to an SEC team. Things could be relatively worse. Getting the ball back at half, Daunte was sacked twice and still exploded into the lead early in the third quarter when he connected with Cy Burley. UCF would end up getting a defensive stop, and Daunte would find Cy Burley open yet again for another long touchdown off a phenomenal catch and run, giving the Knights a lead 24-14. The Gamecocks rallied, however, and took a 33-24 lead midway through the fourth quarter. Penalties, 17 for 122 yards and 7 sacks haunted the Knights. Darrell Lattimore blocked a South Carolina punt, his second punt block of the game, to give UCF good field position, which led to a Mike Huff touchdown with 2 minutes and 39 seconds remaining. With the score 33-31, UCF attempted an onside kick but failed, and South Carolina would hold on to the win in Columbia. Another tough loss for sure. We're getting so close though, right? I mean, we're bound to win one, right? Right? For week 3, the Knights would actually go on the road yet again to take on Scott Frost and the number 6 Nebraska. Being 43.5-point underdogs, the general consensus was that there was absolutely no way that UCF could be even competitive in this game. I mean, Nebraska had won back-to-back championships in 94 and 95 respectively, and were also considered contenders again in 97. Both teams would actually end up punting on their first 2 possessions of the game, with the UCF defense seemingly holding the Cornhuskers at bay. Catching Nebraska off guard, Daunte would actually score a 10-yard touchdown run for a surprising 7-0 Knights lead. Nebraska would respond and tie the score 7-7, but Fred Wazewski kicked a career-best 51-yard field goal to give UCF the lead again at 10-7. Crazy enough, at one point in the second quarter, Frost was actually benched in favor of backup quarterback Frankie London. London completed only 1 pass, but still drove Nebraska for a touchdown and a 14-10 lead. The Nebraska punt returner was then tackled and fumbled, and it was recovered by UCF at the Nebraska 45-yard line. Daunte connected with Marc Daniels for a 42-yard gain to the 2-yard line. Mike Grant would then push it in the next play for a touchdown and a shocking 17-14 lead. Frost then returned to the game and drove the Cornhuskers into UCF territory, but Nebraska would end up missing a 27-yard field goal attempt to close out the half. Officially waking Nebraska up, they would actually score 17 unanswered points to take a 31-17 lead into the fourth quarter. Daunte throwing an interception late in the third quarter actually hurt UCF's chances of any sort of comeback. But later, UCF partially blocked a Nebraska punt, which placed UCF at the Nebraska 43-yard line. Daunte drove the Knights for a touchdown and trimmed the deficit 31-24. Scott Frost's 5-yard touchdown run with 3 minutes and 3 seconds remaining sealed the game for the Cornhuskers, and they held on to win 38-24. After the game, the Memorial Stadium crowd gave the UCF players a standing ovation for their efforts. UCF gained national attention for this performance and received a single vote in the AP poll, the first time the school had ever received a vote in either major poll. The team was lauded as the best 0-3 team in the nation, and the game went down in UCF history as a defining moment for the program.
And I remember so much about that game. When UCF lost that game, Tom Osborne was adamant to make sure that his team stayed on the field to allow UCF to come across the field to the locker room and got a standing ovation from the crowd in Nebraska.
Nebraska was probably one of the best feelings, going into halftime, being up on those guys, and then after the game, getting a standing ovation from their home crowd. That right there was what it's all about. They let us know that they appreciated football, and it was just something I had never experienced, and it was great. It was great to be a part of that.
We were then tabbed the best 0-3 team in the country to come home and play Idaho at the Citrus Bowl with more than 40,000 people to get our first win. And
I should probably also mention that Daunte would throw 3 interceptions in this game as well.
I'm just praying for the Lord to deliver me from pick sixes. That's not me.
The UCF Knights and the Auburn Tigers, Saturday, September 27th, only on pay-per-view. Call your local cable operator today.
Yeah, we got curb stomped, 41-14. Anyways, on to a few weeks later when we go on to play Mississippi State. Coming off a bye week, UCF will travel to Starkville, Mississippi to take on the Mississippi State Bulldogs. I think you can already tell where this one's going. No footage for this game either. Someone seriously needs to be... this was the 90s, not the 50s. Robert Isaac returned the opening kickoff 84 yards, setting up the Bulldogs' first touchdown a minute into the game. UCF soon tied the score at 7-7 with a 2-yard touchdown run by Mike Grant. Culpepper's first interception of the game came in the second quarter, snapping a school record streak of 117 pass attempts without interception. That's surprising. The game went to halftime tied 14-14. In the third quarter, the Bulldogs again capitalized on sluggish kick return coverage. Another long return by Isaac set up a 42-yard touchdown pass by Matt Wyatt to Lamonte Woodbury. 2 field goals by UCF kicker Fred Wazewski made the score 21-20 in favor of Mississippi State. Trailing by 1 point, Culpepper drove the Golden Knights 80 yards in 9 plays, capping off the drive with a 17-yard touchdown pass to Charles Lee. Culpepper's 2-point conversion pass to Siaya Burley put the Golden Knights up by 7 points. With under 9 minutes left in regulation, the cowbell-wielding homecoming crowd was stunned and quieted as UCF now led 28-21. Anxious at another chance for a program-defining victory, fatigue began to set in for UCF on both offense and defense. Wyatt connected to Reggie Kelly for 36 yards, then a 1-yard touchdown by Johnson tied the game. On the next drive, a blitzing defense forced UCF into a 3-and-out. 2 plays later, Johnson scored the go-ahead touchdown for Mississippi State with 5 minutes and 13 seconds left. Driving to tie the game, a Culpepper pass was tipped and intercepted. UCF had one last drive, however. Culpepper was intercepted with 43 seconds to go, sealing the game for the Bulldogs.
Another football game that UCF was right there in the contest and lost one possession. An amazing 97. You go back and look at the schedule UCF played, and you're just like, good grief, who would play a schedule like this? But we did it for money. And again, that's where the image of UCF of close enough, but can you win these games? But it did begin to build the brand, and you were the school that went to these places and hung around.
Hilariously, 3 days later, Secret Service agents raided the UCF locker room.
FBI, open up!
Did Daunte Culpepper hold secrets about Bill Clinton, you ask? No. UCF player Patrick Brinson, a former AT&T employee, was arrested for rigging other players' cell phones with non-billing numbers. Coach G. McDowell had been tipped off about the impending raid and warned the players. McDowell was accused of lying to federal agents and would resign later that year so as not to embarrass the university. McDowell was sentenced to house arrest and community service. I mean, what a year for the Knights, man. Constantly coming up short, cell phone scandals. What didn't happen that year? Well, I can tell you what. A bowl game didn't happen. Finishing the year 5-6, the Knights spent their December at home for a second year in a row. However, Daunte Culpepper announced he would return for his final season the next year. 1998 had a lot going for the Knights.
Catch all the excitement of college football with season tickets for the Golden Knights of UCF. Daunte Culpepper has proven to be pure gold as he leads the Knights in his senior year. Reserved sideline and end zone tickets are still available. Call 407-823-1000 for more info. Don't miss the action as Daunte Culpepper leads the Knights in their third year of 1A football. Call 407-823-1000 for your season tickets today. UCF hosts Eastern Illinois September 12th.
With head coach Mike Kruczek at the helm, the Knights were reinvigorated and reinvented. After starting 2-0, the Knights would travel to play the Purdue Boilermakers in West Lafayette. With this being UCF's first nationally televised game on ESPN, UCF would do something much different here. And by different, I mean they would get absolutely destroyed by Drew Brees. Like, not even close. 35-7, and it wasn't even that close. Drew Brees somehow had 1,000 yards passing. I mean, not really, but that's what we made it look like. Nothing to worry, though. It was a really good Purdue team. The real problem was when the Knights would go on to play the Auburn Tigers in Auburn, Alabama, Week 9 on a cool, crisp November afternoon. According to my sources, UCF actually had a couple thousand fans in attendance for this game, probably the most up to that time. UCF won the coin toss and elected to receive. Quarterback Daunte Culpepper drove the Golden Knights 58 yards in 14 plays, twice converting on third down. The drive finally stalled at the Auburn 7-yard line. Fred Wazewski kicked a 24-yard field goal, and UCF took a 3-0 lead. Auburn ended up going 3-and-out in their first drive and punted it right back to UCF. With a mix of short passes and short runs, Culpepper got UCF in Auburn territory. Facing a 4th and 5 at the Auburn 37, UCF went for it, but Culpepper's pass was intercepted by Auburn at the 21. A couple 3-and-outs later, Auburn quarterback Gabe Gross was intercepted by UCF. The ball was subsequently fumbled and ultimately then recovered again by UCF at the Auburn 36. UCF moved quickly and had a 1st and goal at the Auburn 3. 2 penalties stalled the drive. However, on 3rd and goal from the 10, Culpepper was intercepted for the second time that half. The UCF defense did their job and forced Auburn to another 3-and-out, giving the Knights the ball back. Wazewski kicked his second field goal of the game, and UCF led 6-0 at half. UCF took over at their own 15. After crossing midfield, Culpepper was sacked for a loss of 9, then threw an interception, his 3rd of the game. This time, Auburn was able to get some points off of the turnover. Auburn made a 44-yard field goal, and the score was now 6-3. Late in the third quarter, UCF found themselves with a 1st and goal at the Auburn 6. Culpepper would end up throwing his 4th interception. With just over 9 minutes left in regulation, UCF was looking to run as much time off the clock as they could. They went 46 yards in 7 plays, burning nearly 3 minutes off the clock. UCF had to punt, and we successfully pinned the Tigers back at their own 2-yard line. With just 2 minutes left, center Chris Laurenti made an errant shotgun snap. The ball dribbled at Culpepper's feet, took a funny bounce, and was fumbled away for a 9-yard loss.
Daunte Culpepper, quarterback Chris Laurenti, the center for UCF. They played together their entire career. They had one fumble on a snap. And it was that game on a snap that out of the shotgun trickled on the ground and bounced in a weird way on the grass away from Daunte. And Auburn recovered. It was that type of day.
Auburn recovered the loose ball at the 29-yard line. Gabe Gross threw 3 straight incompletions, and quickly it was 4th and 10. Gross found a receiver open on a comeback route for a 13-yard gain and a first down. With time trickling, Gross hit another receiver on a short out. The Knights defense missed a tackle, and Bailey turned upfield and sprinted down the sidelines for an improbable 58-yard go-ahead touchdown. 7 seconds left, UCF had the last shot. Culpepper threw up a Hail Mary as time expired, but it was no good. Auburn escaped with a 10-6 victory. The Golden Knights dominated the time of possession, 30 minutes and 14 seconds. Outgained the Tigers 278-240, made 5 trips inside the red zone, but came up with only 6 points. Culpepper threw 4 interceptions, lost a fumble, and was sacked 7 times, his worst game in the 1998 season. Nevertheless, UCF was just over a minute away from an upset victory.
Felt like, wow, are we ever going to win any of these? Because it just seems to be a curse on UCF. But that was great heartbreak, the Auburn loss.
UCF would win the remaining games that season, finishing 9-2, arguably being the best season in program history. Daunte finished with 3,690 passing yards that season and would end up being 6th in Heisman voting. However, still being an independent hurt UCF. Because they didn't have a bowl tie-in, they ended up getting left out of bowl season entirely.
No bowl love the whole time I was there, but it was a lot less bowls too back then, obviously. The opportunities were a lot less. I think that season, we were very close to getting to the Hula Bowl, Hawaii Bowl.
Yeah.
And I think we got beat out by somebody else, but we were independent obviously back then, but we're still making a name for ourselves. But yeah, it was definitely frustrating because that was the top goal for us at the end of the season was to play that last game and get a bowl game under our belt, which unfortunately with my group and me, we never got a chance to.
Culpepper would then declare for the 1999 NFL Draft and be selected 11th overall by the Minnesota Vikings. The next season would prove to be a mystery for the Knights, losing Daunte and a lot of senior talent. How would the next season pan out? UCF kicked off the 1999 season going up 6-0 on Drew Brees and the Purdue Boilermakers. Purdue would then score 47 unanswered points. This is also the game where one of the most impressive improv plays by a kicker I've probably ever seen. After getting absolutely routed by number 4 Florida and number 10 Georgia Tech, the Knights would start off the season 0-3 with a visit to Athens, Georgia for their 4th game. In a game that would eventually be called a burglary between the hedges, UCF was 28-point underdogs in this matchup.
I think we were all ticked off that we were 0-3 at that point. And in that week of practice, we were going to do anything we could to win this game because we were not going to go 0-4. And we had a great week of practice, and our first 4 games were the toughest in the United States, in the nation. I think it was the first 4 games of the toughest schedule. Purdue, Florida, Georgia Tech, then Georgia.
There's not a lot of footage of this game either, so you'll just have to listen to my description of it. In the first quarter, the Bulldogs jumped out to a 14-3 lead with a 20-yard touchdown pass. Javier Beorlegui kicked a 28-yard field goal for UCF's first points, but it came moments after UCF wide receiver Kenny Clark had dropped the touchdown pass in the end zone. Looking to go up by 3 scores, Georgia gambled on their next drive, going for it on 4th and 9 at the UCF 43. Georgia receiver Michael Greer was tackled by UCF defensive back Davin Bush, just inches short of the first down, and the Bulldogs turned the ball over on downs. That crucial stop would set up the Golden Knights' first touchdown. It was the first of several miscues by the Bulldogs that kept the game close. Early in the second quarter, UCF finished off an 11-play, 66-yard drive that culminated in a 5-yard touchdown run by Paige Sessoms. The deficit was trimmed 14-10. Georgia went a quick 3-and-out on their next drive, setting up a Jonathan Kilgo punt deep in their own territory. UCF blocked the punt and was recovered by Thad Ward, who returned the ball 6 yards for a UCF touchdown. The Golden Knights led 17-14 with 9 minutes and 20 seconds left in the second quarter. On the next drive, Georgia fumbled away the ball near midfield. With the momentum swinging to UCF, the Golden Knights drove to the 10-yard line. Beorlegui's 27-yard field goal attempt was blocked by Georgia, and the drive came up empty. In the final minute, the Bulldogs managed a 54-yard field goal and a 17-17 halftime tie. On their first possession of the third quarter, Georgia drove 70 yards in 8 plays for a go-ahead touchdown. Georgia running back Jasper Sinks broke away for a 54-yard run and a sure touchdown, but he was caught and tackled from behind by Travis Fisher. Moments later, the Bulldogs capped off the drive with a 5-yard touchdown pass. At the end of the third quarter, Georgia led 24-17. In the fourth quarter, UCF put together a superb touchdown drive. UCF drove 89 yards in 12 plays. They never faced a third down. Omari Howard broke away for a 21-yard run down to the Georgia 32, setting the Knights up deep in Bulldogs territory. Vic Penn threw a 5-yard touchdown pass to Paige Sessoms, but Javier Beorlegui missed the extra point.
It was an extra point, and for some reason I think I thumped it. I don't remember if it hit the bar or if I missed it. And I was devastated. I'm like, man, I'm not missing again.
The score was now 24-23 with 9 minutes left in regulation. With 1 minute and 41 left in regulation, trailing by only 1, Vic Penn began leading UCF on a hopeful game-winning drive. He swiftly drove the Golden Knights 61 yards to the Bulldogs' 20-yard line, spiking the ball with 25 seconds left on the clock. Rather than taking a knee, running out the clock, and attempting a 37-yard field goal as time expired, head coach Mike Kruczek decided to call another play. Kruczek admitted, "I'm not overwhelmed with our confidence in our field goal kicking," after Beorleguy's 2 earlier misses, and decided to take one last crack at the end zone instead. Penn threw a fade pattern to receiver Kenny Clark on the left front corner of the end zone, but the ball fell incomplete. Bulldogs cornerback Jeff Harris was all over Clark, but a flag was thrown for offensive pass interference.
How much you got on that parlay?
There's no question Jeff Harris tackles Kenny Clark in the back corner of the end zone. There's a flag thrown. I remember saying penalty flag, fully anticipating pass interference on Georgia, moved the ball up in chip shot field goal range for UCF to win. And the SEC crew called offensive pass interference, which I'm still not sure is physically possible, but shocked everybody in our booth. Shocked Larry Munson, the longtime play-by-play voice for Georgia, who came into our booth after the game and told us we got robbed.
Well, I couldn't believe it. I mean, it was on our sideline, and I decided to take a shot. They were playing as press man, and I wanted to put Kenny Clark against their corner, their left corner, their defensive right corner. And Vic threw the fade takeoff in the end zone, and he put it up where Kenny could go up and make a play, and all of a sudden I see the flag come out. I'm thinking he's calling pass interference on the defense, and all of a sudden he motions to offensive pass interference. Well, that kind of took us out of field goal range. So I was in disbelief on the call. At best, it was a no call to me.
The Golden Knights were backed up 15 yards and out of field goal range. A sack on the next play set up a desperation pass as time expired. Penn's pass was intercepted, sealing the game for Georgia and snuffing out the upset bid. The offensive pass interference penalty was instantly controversial. Observers on both sides of the field were shocked by the call, which was made by an SEC officiating crew. UCF head coach Mike Kruczek said he saw face guarding, defensive pass interference, plain and simple, and 86,000 people saw the same thing. Even Georgia head coach Jim Donnan appeared surprised. Bulldogs and radio announcer Larry Munson believed that UCF got a really bad break on that call. Later in the season, Georgia Tech coach George O'Leary was studying game film for his upcoming rivalry game against Georgia. When he came across the play in question, he said, "Whoa, there's those SEC officials again." It was a terrible call. The Golden Knights had racked up 441 yards of offense with 30 first downs, controlling the clock for nearly 36 minutes. The Bulldogs had 13 penalties for 102 yards and committed the game's only turnover except for Penn's interception on the final play. Though Georgia escaped with the win, they were highly criticized for poor play, particularly on defense. Unfortunately, though, the game would go down as one of the most devastating losses in UCF history. This is getting tiring, so I'm just going to gloss over the next week where UCF played Auburn, in which they led for a majority of the game, when a dropped touchdown pass and missed field goal led to Auburn scoring 3 touchdowns in just 90 seconds in the fourth quarter, winning them the game. So what happened? How did UCF break the curse of always coming up short? Well, we finally got one.
The UCF Knights marched into Crimson Tide territory and gave fans reason to celebrate tonight in what's considered the biggest win in school history.
The kick on the way. The kick is good. A flag is down as Alabama was offsides on the kick. There may be another flag down as the entire Golden Knights team has poured out onto the field.
Cheers are the official comment from the Golden Knights.
Not right now. I can't get no better than this right here.
The team, the underdogs who went to Alabama this weekend with a plan that this time actually worked.
The 90s was a time of change for UCF. With many close losses, some could say this was character building, Perhaps it was for the best we lost some of these games. Now, do you think that we were chokers? Let me know in the comments. Again, thank you for joining me, and this has been One Off with Clay Pasco.